Hey everybody, welcome back. So this is part 2 to my previous vlog where I talked about how I ended up in Wuhan, China. So this part is about how I ended up in Manizales, Colombia. If you haven't watched my previous vlog, it would be best for you to watch that first so that you can get some context. So after I came back from Wuhan, China, we did a lot of press and we were preparing for me to go to Colombia for 2 weeks. So that January, I went to Colombia. A completely different pageant, completely different culture. When I was in China, Miss Ethiopia, when she left, we had such a tight bond that when she left, I think I left her first or she left me. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember when we separated, I got so teary-eyed. That was like the first time that had ever happened to me with a friend. And, you know, I had developed such a great bond with her and I was like, I was never going to see this girl again, you know? And I remember she's like, I'm gonna call my director. I know you're gonna go to Colombia. I'm gonna call my director and I'm gonna tell him that I wanna go to Colombia with you. And I gave her all the information about the pageant. And lo and behold, when I got back home to the Bahamas, my director was like, okay, so you're gonna be rooming with Miss Ethiopia. I was like, what? Rahel, you got that type of pull? So I was looking forward to going to Colombia. So I went to Colombia, and when I got to Colombia, I was picked up by the organizers, went to the hotel. When I got to the hotel, our names were on the door, Miss Ethiopia, Miss Bahamas, and unfortunately, she did not make it to the pageant. And oh, I was so disappointed. I was super disappointed. But c'est la vie, right? She knows I love her and I expressed to her how disappointed I was. But anyway, we were in Bogota for 2 days. And when we left Bogota, we got on Avianca airline, best airplane food I have had to date was on Avianca airline. So we landed in Manizales, Colombia, and we were given escorts. So we had guards. Each girl had a guard with her. Like throughout the entire day, you were never alone. That guard did not leave your side. Every single girl had a guide. They also had regular police. They had the police officers on the bikes and all of the different stuff. I mean, when you go to these things, protection is key. Security is a huge deal because you're representing your country. This is big. So we landed in Manizales. Let me tell you, Manizales is one of the most beautiful, naturally beautiful places that I have ever been to in my life. Throughout the years, I have met a few Colombians, and when I tell them where I visited in Colombia, their response was always, oh my gosh, yes, Manizales is a gorgeous place. If native Colombians are telling you that that place is beautiful, you know it's beautiful because it's not coming from the lips of tourists who have a different experience, you know? One of the experiences that is etched in my mind and will always be with me, we had just finished doing like a press junket or something like that. And I remember going outside and my guard was with me and police was just surrounding the entire area. And this lady, she made it through the barriers, and she approached me and she said, you know, she introduced herself and she said, my daughter would really like to meet you. And at that moment, to be honest with you, I was like, okay, I'm wondering why, you know, out of all of the girls. She called her daughter over and I knew why at that moment. Same complexion. So, this little girl, her face just lit up. And it speaks to representation because I was the only person with this complexion. I was the only black girl. Representation matters. I can remember being her age and watching skating. That was my thing. I used to love watching skating and not seeing girls that look like me. For that little girl, seeing somebody that looks like her was such a big deal, and it meant so much, not just to her, but to me. She has no idea. She has no idea how much that meant to me. Knowing that I helped her in that way, knowing that I made her day, that was huge. So we took a photo and she was just so excited. I hugged her and she squeezed me. I couldn't understand what she was saying. But it was just such a beautiful moment. You know, it was an awesome moment. And so we went all over Manizales. We went to Chinchina. I think it was maybe 16 or 17 girls. It wasn't a lot of girls in this particular pageant. And we got the keys to the city. The keys to the city. We got so many gifts everywhere we went. Flowers, gift baskets, you name it. I came back to the Bahamas with loads of coffee, loads of alcohol, because everybody's just giving you so much things, you know. That was back in the day when you could travel with stuff like that, man. And it was just such an awesome experience. And like I said, I wasn't able to document every aspect of the way because I was on a schedule, so I wasn't able to do it. But one thing I can say is that pageant life, physically, it is very, very strenuous. We would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go and get our hair and our makeup done. And then at the end of the night, we would be done at around like 1 o'clock in the morning, and we would jump on a bus. You would see these big buses with us loaded in it with all of this police presence and everything. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and we're driving through the streets of Manizales. And oh my gosh, so amazing. That was my first introduction to Spanish culture. Those people are lit. Nights on the bus, they would crank up the radio and we had a ball in those buses, dancing and just having a good time. It was awesome. And at the end of the pageant, Tito El Bambino was in Manizales for this festival that they were having, and we had special VIP tickets to go. But when we got to the gate, the organizers of this concert, they were like, the guards can't come, it's only you girls. And we were like, oh hell no, we're not going. If they can't come, we can't come. We had already had a little bond with them. So we were like, if they cannot come, we are not coming. The pageant is over, so they weren't obligated to go anywhere with us, you know. And we had on regular clothes, they had on regular clothes, no longer military uniform. And so we were like, we're not going in. So we told them that. So they're like, okay, the guys can come. So all of us went in there. We were enjoying Tito El Bambino, and it just started raining, and we did not care. We were dancing in the rain. The Spanish music is playing. We're outside dancing in the rain. Spanish music is playing. I am in Manizales, Colombia. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? What is meant to be will be. And that was my time in Manizales, Colombia. This video was very short, but I really wanted to talk about my short experience in Manizales, Colombia. So I want to shout out my aunt. She was my doctor. She was my therapist. She was my coach. She was my cheerleader. So I want to definitely shout her out. I want to shout out Miss DeVoe, Miss Willa Mae DeVoe, the second MVP, Miss Lolita Ambrista, who in my eyes is the Miss Bahamas. Will always be Miss Bahamas in my eyes. She is the pinnacle, okay? So Miss Lolita Ambrista, who was my chaperone everywhere that I went, she was my chaperone. And I also want to shout out Miss Prudence Gallagher. I remember going into Bandolera 2 years before Miss Grand Bahama, and I remember thinking, boy, you think I could ever buy something out of him? Bandolera is the posh store on the island, you know? And 2 years later, she sponsored a lot of the clothes that I wore to China. She sponsored a lot of the clothing that I wore throughout my year as Miss Grand Bahama. And I just went into the store and she was like, just pick a few dresses and I put out a few things for you, but you can go ahead, you can go around the store and pick a few things. Listen! Listen! Oh my goodness. Definitely a big shout out and a thank you to the Miss Grand Bahama organization, Glenn Davis, April Gao, Corral. Girl, listen, Corral, if it wasn't for you, if you didn't come through and say, Nikki, you ever thought about joining the pageant? Everybody that supported me, my family, my friends, thank you to everybody. So that is it. What is meant to be will be. And that experience changed my life completely. And yeah, what is meant to be will be. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this vlog. If you have any questions, leave the question in the comment section. I will try my best to answer it. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye.